What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel, guys. I had another special request here back in the Netherlands. We got 10 reasons why I love the Netherlands as an American from my guy David Wynn. That's his name, David Wynn. As you can see right here, we finna check this out. Y'all hit that subscribe button, send down those recommendations.
Say this, but I do like Dutch direct. I never thought I'd say this, but I do like Dutch directness. From one of the happiest countries in the world to more bicycles than people, to the work-life balance, to not having to compare myself all the time, to the beauty of this country, from canals to windmills to gyms inside of churches. Here are 10 reasons why I love the Netherlands.
Okay, let me make sure y'all can see that too. I know I'm kind of in the way. Okay, man. Travel, bike culture, amazing.
Nice. Do normaal or act normal. This is a Dutch philosophy, a phrase that I really appreciate because it's really about standing in versus standing out. It's about not bragging. It's about conforming. And this is such a big contrast as compared to US culture where I'm from, where it's really about being unique, being the best that you can be. And that can.
And most people don't have to brag. I mean, most people just buy certain things that just let you know that they probably make a good living.
Be a formula for unhappiness. Now, it's not to say that the Dutch don't achieve, they don't want greatness. They do, but they don't brag about it. For example, when I went to university here to do my master's, when I got my exam grades, I got a 7 out of a 10. And I was quite disappointed because, well, a 7 out of a 10 for me,
I would have been happy.
It was not good enough. Then I learned that 7 was actually a pretty good score. And then the Dutch classmates told me that they got a 6 out of a 10. And they were quite happy because, well, they had just passed and it was good enough. And
that's how I was in school, man. I always said C's get degrees, because really people ain't looking about what type of degree. They just looking for experience. So the type of degree you got pretty much don't matter. They just looking for, have you been doing this for 3 to 5 years? I would have been happy with that C.
The mindset is that you can be just good enough.
Yeah, just pass may not get you. Now this is true. Like I believe going into like the master's programs and stuff in the States, it could be the same overseas. But in the States, for sure, you have to have a certain GPA. And if you don't, you still have an opportunity to take a certain test in order to qualify to even go to school and earn your master's. So, but I think you need a 3.0. I think you may need a 3.0.
And still live a great quality of life. And there's probably a good reason why Dutch
and most
kids
people need all that
in the world, because, well, especially in education systems, when you don't have super high expectations, that can actually be a great thing when it comes to happiness. And here's the really important thing that I do want to say about do normaal is that I find myself a lot happier in this country because I find myself comparing myself less and less as compared to the US.
That's a good thing.
The US, it's almost like this big comparison game of trying to be the best. And people seem to judge you based on where you went to school, what job you have, what company you work for. And the first question people ask you at a dinner party is, what do you do? And people do ask that question here and they do care, but people don't seem to judge you based on what you do, where you went to school. And I think that's a big factor when we think about happiness. When you're not comparing yourself as much, you become a lot happier.
That's true. That's real true, David.
The Prime Minister rides his bike to work. This society, it's very egalitarian, meaning that I can call my professor by his first name. That was a shock for me. And so this philosophy of do normaal, act normaal, it's something that I really, really appreciate. Dutch people are some of the most direct people in the world, and I've come to love it. Well, because I tend to be a very indirect person when it comes to communication, and ever since moving here, I've learned to be more direct. And it feels good. It feels good to be able to say what I think, to say what I feel. Now, a lot of people tend
Definitely, because down here, people, I mean, it could be a world thing, but I just think nowadays, we talk about sensitivity and stuff. People get their feelings hurt. And it don't even be nothing serious. I seen a post the other day said, for a generation that grew up on like Family Guy and South Park, very sensitive. And I'm thinking like, You know what? Those shows definitely did have no filters. When they talked about people or anything, on certain episode, it was okay. We laughed. Nowadays, they're probably not even airing those episodes, to be honest.
Confuse directness with rudeness, but they're two completely different things. Now, it goes back to the fact that back in the day...
What did I say? English saying that the Dutch don't say?
Completely...
English say that the Dutch... Dang.
Different things. Now, it goes back to the fact that back in the days, Calvinism used to be a big part of Dutch culture, and that religion taught people to be very honest. And so directness is really about being honest. It's about saying what you think. And what really helps in this culture is that there's not a lot of hierarchy, and it's more egalitarian. So you can say what you think to a boss, to a CEO, to a professor, to an authority figure. Whereas in other cultures, you have to be very careful what you say to someone else, especially a boss, and especially when it comes to negative feedback. And so if you look a bit deeper into Erin Meyer's culture map, she's done many years of research into cultural differences. You can see that Dutch people are some of the most low context communicators. This means communication is very direct, simple, and precise. As compared to higher context cultures
where the ad was trying to come up
is more nuanced, more contextual. You have to read between the lines for certain cultures. There's another scale called the direct negative feedback scale, and you can see that Dutch people are very okay with even giving direct negative feedback. And I do think this is where
feedback is definitely important.
Bad reputation of being rude, because Dutch people are very okay giving positive feedback and also very okay giving negative feedback as well. And that might be a shock for many people. But again, I do like the fact that you don't have to beat around the bush.
Yeah.
You can say what you think.
I know for me, especially like people don't realize, like when we're online, like I do videos. I'm making these videos obviously for the public. So I can't be taking offense to what somebody think or their opinion. You know what I'm saying? I feel like some people, they get on here, they put themselves out here on these platforms, but they get their feelings hurt and all. Me personally, that's not me. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I commented on some things on probably my other channels and stuff, but it was like about basketball, those type of thing, those type of just, who's good, who's not good type of thing. But I feel like if you're putting yourself out there, you're gonna have to expect, there's some trolls and stuff out there, but it's just one of those things. I see people comment all the time. Like, I did an Australian video and I said something wrong. I pronounced something wrong. They wasn't like, oh, don't never do these again. They were like, dude, you're saying it wrong. This is how you pronounce it. I could have been like, oh, wow, I didn't know, but I was like, my fault. Shoot, I didn't even realize I was saying it wrong. I had to go back, look, and I'm like, hey, this is how you pronounce it, blah, blah. But I like directness because I would rather be direct and tell people the truth instead of lie to their face. And, oh, do this dress make me look fat? You know what? It kind of do type of thing.
Save a lot of time.
And that's okay.
And especially for an overthinker like me, it helps me resolve many challenges about what someone else might be thinking. So I really love the work-life balance in this country as compared to the US where I'm from, where frankly speaking, people work longer hours. Now, if work-life balance is of importance to you, which I believe it is, the Netherlands is one of the best countries to live in when it comes to work-life balance.
Oh, I didn't know they were number one in 2019.
Hours in this country. I remember when I first arrived to this country, I was connected to a friend's friend who transferred from Deloitte Consulting in Chicago to Deloitte Consulting in Amsterdam. And I asked her, hey, what's it like to work in this country as compared to the US? And she told me that she was shocked in her first week because at 5 p.m., the office was empty. It was clear. People left at 5 p.m. Consultants. You would never see that happen in consulting in the US.
Somebody's standing around.
I was also shocked in my first week here as well because frankly, people were leaving at 4 or 5 p.m. But the thing is, people are very efficient and effective here. People don't feel the need to stay longer than necessary. The other shock that I had was that people actually use up all the vacation days here, and people have a guaranteed minimum of vacation days in this country. Well, in Europe, it's 20 days in the Netherlands, and people take the full 20, 25 days, however many you
in a row.
As compared to the US, I had 5 weeks of vacation in one company, but I never fully used the full 5 weeks because, well, that's not part of the culture. People feel like they have too much work to do, or that they can't take the full vacation days. And that's very
I feel like some companies won't even let you. I feel like in Europe, because I've seen a couple of videos, people take like 3-4 weeks maybe off of work, 3 or 4 weeks off from work. In the US, I remember it was a struggle for me to even take a week off, let alone 2. I wanted to take the whole month off. That's how much time I had, but it's like, wait, we still got stuff to do, so it's can't even take that much time off because you have stuff to do.
Different here. People laughed at me, my colleagues, because I didn't take the full 25 days. I frankly did not know how to take vacation in my first year in this country. But now I wish I had 6-7 weeks because, well, that's part of the work-life balance in this country. The other thing that I really appreciate is the fact that when you talk about mental illness and burnout, this is one of the most burnout-friendly countries in the world, because if you suffer from burnout, which is recognized as a mental illness here, then you can take sick leave and the company will pay 70% of your salary up to 2 years.
Wow.
So people are okay telling people that, hey, I was burnt out at a job. I never heard anything about burnout in the US. So that's a big difference. The last thing
you
that
hear
comes
it,
to
but
mind
people
is
just keep
that
going.
A lot of people here work part-time. In fact, I think the Netherlands is the country with the most part-time workers in the world.
How much they make for part-time?
Especially women here as well. Hey, there's work-life balance, and I really like this country because of that fact. What a beautiful country to live in, from the windmills to the canals to the bicycles to the steep stairs to the narrow houses. There's something unique about this country, especially if you come from a place like the US, where it's a lot bigger. The history and architecture are a lot more modern, and the cities are bigger and more like metropolises, because living in this country feels like you're living in a very big, small town.
Ooh.
Even a place like Amsterdam, for me, seems like a big, small town. I remember when I first moved here, I lived in this Dutch canal house, and that was such a unique experience because it was 400 years old. And even walking up and down the stairs, you could see that those stairs...
Oh, those stairs look like something off a movie I seen.
There were dips in those stairs because people had walked on those steps for over 100 years.
Wow.
And it's not just Amsterdam. Amsterdam is beautiful, but this country is full of hidden gems that most people don't know about. Utrecht is like the Amsterdam without tourists. The Hague, I like going to The Hague because it's a big international city with a beach. Rotterdam has modern architecture.
That is cool.
Delft is actually my favorite small town because, well, it's very small, cute, and it's known for Delft blue, Delft pottery. Actually, I moved to this country because of Maastricht, where I spent 1 year studying. And I remember watching this YouTube video of Maastricht, and I fell in love with it. It seemed like a fairy tale. And when I lived there, I would go and cycle into the countryside. 1 minute I'd be in the Netherlands, the next I'd be in Belgium, the next I'd be in the French-speaking part of Belgium. And something that comes to mind is in the wintertime, yes, the weather sucks, but sometimes the canals will freeze if it gets really cold. And that is such a special experience.
I ain't never seen, I seen it cold, but I ain't never seen them skate on the canals.
You see people ice skating on the canals.
Dang.
And you could actually walk on the canals yourself as well.
It's that thick?
And it just seems like you're in this walking painting.
This is my first time seeing that. That's crazy.
Architecture around, smiling faces. Such a special experience. So the Netherlands, a very small country, but there's so much to see, do. And speaking of architecture, did you know that 20% of all churches in this country have been converted into non-religious uses, such as apartments, gyms, bookstores?
Interesting.
What a cool way to make use of churches that are no longer in use.
Especially, they've been there for years.
When I lived in Maastricht, I actually went to a gym inside of a church. And I remember running on the treadmill, lifting weights, and looking around, looking up, and thinking to myself, wow, I'm lifting weights inside of a church. Who would have expected that? But that was a really cool experience.
At least they're doing something with the building.
The Dutch have this very innovative sense of making use of space in this country because it's not the biggest country in the world. So you really have to be creative in how you use space in this country. Did you know that in the Netherlands, there are 17 million people and 23 million bicycles? It's a country built
That's
for
a lot
cycling.
of bikes.
I mean, the country is flat, for better or for worse, but that's great for cycling. And it doesn't take a doctor to tell you that if you cycle more, that's going to be better for your health as well. I remember when I lived in LA, I would drive 2 blocks just to go to my local supermarket. And now I can't imagine not having a bike. I bike everywhere from the supermarket to work to
Man, I'm still healing from my knee. I wish I can ride a bike right now. I need to go get one.
I used to go to the gym just to cycle, but now I cycle every day. It's also quite efficient in terms of systems. You have subscription services where you can rent a bike for a day, for a week, for a month, for a year using swap feeds. At every train station, they have these OV feed stations where you can rent a bike for a day for about €4.
That's not bad.
Did you know that in the Netherlands, 50% of all public transit trips start with a bicycle? Everything is connected. This is sustainable transportation. The bike lanes, the roads.
I know it's casual biking, but they should be doing something with the BMX and stuff out there. You know what I'm saying? BMX.
Everything's connected. So the bike lanes feed people to go into public transportation. And that's not only great for people's health, but that's also great for the environment as well. And oh yeah, public transportation, it's a beautiful thing for the most part when it works. But from my experience, it works most of the time. The options are endless, from trams to metro, buses, trains, bicycle, by foot.
Looks super clean.
And it's a really small country. You can get anywhere within a day. When I used to live in Maastricht, I would do day trips to Amsterdam in the north, and I would get there within 3.5 hours. In many stores, they sell these day passes for €20, and you can travel anywhere in the country within 24 hours.
Wow.
And if you work for a company, many companies will often pay your public transportation costs if you need to commute to the office.
That's nice.
So sustainable public transportation, it works in this country. For the most part. Almost every
I wish we can get reimbursed for gas.
Speaks perfect English. And that's because the Netherlands is the country with the highest level of English, where English is the second language. And it makes it easy, very easy for someone to come travel here, to do business here, to work here, to study here, to live here, because the Dutch speak great, almost perfect English. And it makes sense because, well, the Netherlands is a small country, but they have a long history of being business people, tradespeople, and if you want to do business with people from around the world, you need to be able to communicate.
Facts.
And because the level of English here is so high, it makes it easy for people to come work here, to study here. In fact, I came here to do a master's, English only, in Maastricht. And because it was an English only program, I was able to meet people from around the world, from around Europe. And also in the workplace, the same is true as well. In many international companies, English is the method of communication in the workplace. And that attracts a lot of people. It creates this very diverse...
I think that's a good thing, though, because that's one thing that I do love about Europe. And I try to memorize certain words that, can help me in a, pretty basic, pretty simple conversation. But I think that's cool.
Mix, which I really appreciate as well. When it comes to safety, the Netherlands is one of the safest countries to live in the world. The crime rate here is quite low, and that's something I really appreciate, the fact that I can go out daytime, nighttime, and feel safe. Women tell me this as well. And even if I go to, say, a bad neighborhood in this country, it doesn't even feel that bad or unsafe. I've never felt unsafe in this country.
That's a good thing.
As compared to if I go into a bad neighborhood in the US, I definitely do feel tense. And
there's certain places.
There are many factors.
There's definitely certain places in certain areas you just shouldn't go to. You definitely got to know where you at.
There's one factor is that, say, something like guns are not allowed in the Netherlands, whereas they are allowed in the US. The other thing is the homeless population in the US.
Super high.
I'm always shocked when I go back to a place like San Francisco and I see homeless people everywhere downtown.
Oh my gosh.
Many of these people have mental problems as well, which is sad. And when you have mental...
That's very sad, because usually there's something for them to help them, and funding. There's funding for them. That's crazy.
People walking around the streets uncontrolled for that can also be dangerous.
Yep.
Now, when it comes to crime in the Netherlands, your bike will probably get stolen, but that's about it, petty theft. And I'll take that any day over, say, the crime, say, in other countries. And that's something I really appreciate about this country. And for those of you who aren't from Europe, and if you come from a place like the US, one really cool thing about being in the Netherlands is that you are in the center of Europe, and you can travel very easily. I know for many it's not a surprise, especially if you live in Europe, but when you come from a place like California where you're driving 6-7 hours and you're still in
California,
the same state,
yep.
Here in this country, when you drive 6-7 hours, you could be in 2 different countries.
Wow.
And what I do love is being
it
able
is
to
right there by
take
Belgium
a
and
train
Germany
from Central
and
Station
France.
in Amsterdam and being in Central Paris and Central London in 4 or 5 hours.
What?
That's very unique. And also being able to
I'm gonna have to do that when I make that trip. I'm gonna visit Scandinavia. Yeah, when I go to the Netherlands, I'm gonna hit Germany and France. I got to.
These budget airlines and getting from one country to another country within a few hours.
That's cool.
Something that is very
unique
cool and amazing about living in the Netherlands. There you have it, 10 reasons why I love this
Thanks,
country,
David.
the Netherlands. And I feel like I've only scratched the surface. I've been here for about 4 years, and I feel like there's still so much for me to learn about what makes this country great. What about you? What are the reasons why you love this country? Please leave them in the comments below, and we'll.
I do see the piece. Just checking out even other YouTubers that live in the Netherlands. I see the peace and the comfortable living there. No worries, no stress. I know we all stress depending on the situation and stuff, but I can see just the goodness out there in the Netherlands. But definitely, that's good to know. I now know I messed up on one of my flags on my other channel, but I know where the Netherlands lie, and I can definitely find it on a map now. It's Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, France. I know those. Scandinavia up there. I know the Spain, the Portugal. So I'm getting better. It's just central and some of those micronations down there. It's hard to see on the map. But this was good. Definitely 10 reasons right here for my guy David. But I enjoyed this. Appreciate you guys for sending me this recommendation. Y'all make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. And y'all be blessed, be the best, and be you. I'm out.